Good evening. Once again, I am Stephanie Ruhle. We are now 172 days away from the election, and it was a pivotal week in the former president's New York criminal trial. Star witness and ex-Trump fixer Michael Cohen took the stand, and he faced heated cross-examination where Trump's team questioned a key part of his testimony. Meanwhile, Trump's posse of loyal Republicans trashed the case on his behalf in front of the cameras outside the courthouse. Today, Trump himself had the day off of the trial so he could attend his youngest son Barron's high school graduation. You're in luck. No graduation, but it is time for the nightcap, and it is a great one. Radhika Jones is here, editor-in-chief of the world's greatest magazine, Vanity Fair. Andrew Weissman joins us, former FBI general counsel, former senior member of the Mueller probe. He is now an NYU law professor and an MSNBC legal analyst. Nancy Giles, Emmy-winning contributor to CBS News Sunday Morning, and one of our favorites on the nightcap, and one of my favorites at this whole network, Michael Steele, former chairman of the Republican National Committee, former lieutenant governor of Maryland, but you know him as the co-host of The Weekend right here on MSNBC. Welcome to you all. Andrew, you know we're going to you first. Your assessment of this week in court and the fact that you're not wearing a red tie with the Trump brigade is disappointing to me.
Yeah, so I'm not a mini-me, and I'm not seeking the vice presidency. So,
all right, then.
Yeah. So actually on that, that's a really good way to segue that and the denigration of the rule of law, which is them standing out there repeating the sort of Donald Trump, the rule of law is, you know, for other people, is exactly what connects this to Justice Alito. And, you know, the flag outside of his house.
You're jumping ahead.
Yes, exactly.
Give us your assessment of this week in court.
Oh, you want to do court?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought the whole idea was to sort of liberate.
It is, but give us how do you think things went?
So, it's interesting. Todd Blanche finally had a good day, but also it's Michael Cohen. Before he went on, is there anyone here who said, oh, that's going to go well? It was not going to go well because he has committed so many different crimes and there's just so many different ways to cross him. Putting it in perspective, I have never done a trial where there isn't something where the defense says about one of your cooperators, oh, they're lying, and this is a gotcha moment. You know what this was? He made a mistake. And that's it. And of course, by the way, the defense is going to say, oh, it's a lie. But it was obviously a mistake because, you know what, there are like 6 other calls they have not touched with the president of the United States. And actually, those calls and those conversations, much more important. But you know what, a mistake, that's a good thing for the defense. They want to capitalize on it. They want to say it exemplifies the whole case. But we'll see what the jury thinks.
How do you think Todd Blanche did, Michael? Because he painted Michael Cohen as a sleazy liar and a hustler. But here's the thing. Donald Trump hired him to be a liar and a bully and a hustler.
Right. That's probably one of the more fascinating aspects of Todd's approach to this, because the guy you're trying to paint in a certain way was the guy that Donald Trump himself wanted. Michael was his Cohen. He was the guy that, you know, he wanted to be his fixer lawyer.
Roy Cohn, who eventually was disbarred.
Right. He wanted him to be, you know, the lawyer who would go and really fix things for him. And so that would entail everything that, you know, Todd would come out and say, well, what about this, and this? Well, Donald Trump wanted me to do that. That's why he hired me. So I was fascinated going into this week, Andrew, with this idea that, you know, somehow the defense, you know, is going to have that moment, that sort of gotcha moment. And I'm sitting there thinking, but at the end of the day, the guy that's sitting in front of you went to jail for the guy that's on trial right now, number one. Number two, everything that Michael Cohen did, he did at the instruction of Donald Trump. Michael Cohen is not cutting a check for $130,000 without talking to his wife first, right? Not happening. So the reality of it is where Michael Cohen ended up was the space that Donald Trump put him in long before they landed in that courtroom.
Totally agreed. I mean, he had to refinance his house.
He had to refinance his house.
He didn't have that money lying around.
No.
But also, what lawyer acts that way? I mean, I can tell you, you don't.
A lawyer
pays a bill for it.
Pledges himself. I mean, remember, Michael Cohen worshipped Donald Trump at the time, worshipped him.
Well, he also worked for him for many years and learned his playbook. And it's interesting, you know, Trump is such a master at projecting what the bad things that he does onto other people. But in this case, it's actually playing out. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I was in an acting class. This is going to connect. Wait a minute. That was a front for Scientology. Okay, I'll just say it like that.
All right.
So I know what it's like to be around kind of a cult and to sort of be a little worshipy towards somebody. I feel for Michael Cohen. I feel for him. He's shown a lot of bravery. He said he lied. He paid the price. His family was threatened. You know, and now he's trying to do well. And I will say this: when he was Donald Trump's consigliere, he was really in, and now that he's out, he's really out. And I respect that kind of consistency.
Can we talk, though, about this red tie brigade, all these Republicans, right, who made their way up to New York City, some of them currently elected officials, right, many of them auditioning to be his VP, and they stood outside that courthouse and they attacked the rule of law. What does that say about what we may be looking at and who our next VP could be?
I mean, exactly. It's a reminder of what the Trump circus looks like. And I feel like we had a little bit of quiet for a small period, but now this trial is reminding everyone that with Trump comes spectacle and comes performance, and that is what we will be signing up for if the country elects him again.
And lawlessness. I'm sorry.
Michael, I want to know, do any of these people who voted for them, do any of their constituents in their home states, are they asking, did Lauren Boebert take the day off to come to New York? Who paid for her train ticket? Where is she staying tonight?
They're doing this.
I'll tell you, if I had a friend on trial in another city, I'd be taking the day off of work if I wanted to go. But no, they are not doing their jobs in D.C. or in their home districts. And this
But the folks don't care. They don't care. That's why they're there. The bigger prize is Donald Trump looks at them. Number one. The second biggest prize is Donald Trump looks at them again. And that's kind of their existence, why they're there. Why are you in New York? What purpose does the Speaker of the House have at a trial for a criminal defendant in another city?
They're not doing their jobs. They should call themselves the Freedom from Doing Our Jobs Caucus. They're not doing what they should be. Is it really true that the constituents?
So there is that.
Are their constituents really cool with that?
Yes, they're going to. Every last one of them will get reelected in November.
Let's relate this back to Michael Cohen. When Michael Cohen testified in front of Congress and he was getting attacked by the sort of Jim Jordans of the world, he said, "I know what you're doing. I used to be you.
Right.
I'm telling you, do not. This is how it ends. It ends. This is how it ends. Don't fool yourselves.
Yeah.
And I know what you're doing. I used to be you.
Right. That's
He's very self-aware. You got to give him that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Michael
He's
Cohen?
very self-aware. Yeah, I mean, look, when you get caught, that's what happens. And he got caught.
Really? Alan Weisselberg wouldn't say that. He just keeps going to jail.
But that's a different kind of loyalty. That's a very specific kind of loyalty that transcends anything that Michael Cohen brings to the table.
Is that loyalty that he's saying, I'm at the end of my life, I want my family taken care of forever?
It is that Godfather scene, baby.
There you
That's
go.
it right
Okay,
there.
let's talk about what I know you're anxious to talk about. Samuel Alito, okay? If you haven't seen it yet, it was now released that the New York Times had the photo that in front of his house, an upside-down American flag for a period of time was hanging. Some January 6 participants did it. It sort of resembled the Stop the Steal. He's now saying, oh, it was my wife who did it. It wasn't me. What is your take on this? Because an awful lot of people think this is absolutely crazy. And how could he possibly preside over anything that has to do now with the election interference and Donald Trump and immunity?
Okay, two thoughts. One, the cover story of my wife did it, and she did it in response to a neighbor.
The neighbor did call her the C word.
Wait.
Oh, is that
Supposedly.
I'll turn a flag upside down.
Palpably ridiculous.
Yeah.
First of all, thank God they had a photo, because otherwise the story would be it's not true. So they had to come up with a cover story. Is it his house? Is the flag not in front of his house?
Yes.
It was up for a number of days. What, he didn't see it? And what I guess he's prohibited from talking to his wife about the flag on the lawn that is a Stop the Steal. I mean, it is the most absurd story ever. Now let's go to the substance. That is the through line. This is the through line between Trump, the Red Tie Brigade, Justice Alito saying at the immunity argument that we cannot trust the criminal justice system, which is why presidents should not be held criminally liable. Because even though I am a Supreme Court justice and a former U.S. attorney, we can't trust the Justice Department or even our criminal justice system. So presidents should just be able to like roam the earth without any criminal liability. This is the through line, and he is like in the tank MAGA.
Okay, it ties to that. It ties to the Dobbs leak. It ties to Clarence Thomas's wife. What is your take?
People should not blame their spouses. That's where I just get off the train there. I was like, I'm done with this story. Forget it.
There's no more here for me.
You know?
No, it's appalling. And another example of how the Supreme Court also feels like they should have no rules. There should be no conflicts of interest. I should get a big SUV from whomever. Or it's baffling. It's horrifying.
Well, when you throw your wife under the bus, that's a man's move right there. That's the man's man,
real
right?
man.
That's a real man's move right
But
there.
can there, like, if you're Chief Justice Roberts, let's assume he is distressed by this. Let's say he is absolutely upset. Can he do anything?
Well, one, he could speak out.
Yeah,
But what does that do?
Well, actually, it could
a lot.
Putting in terms of the 9, he could speak out. 2, he could actually signal to Congress that they should hold a hearing, and instead of saying I'm not coming, he could be like I am coming. He could say, you know what, I am in support of transparency. I am in support of you're thinking of having a mandatory conflict rule. Obviously, we need it. There are a lot of things he could do. I mean, the one thing about Roberts is if you're the Chief Justice and you see what's happening, he does have an institutional concern. I mean, leaving all of the sort of partisanship aside, he has got to be thinking, I've got a huge problem.
He has a huge